What if I told you the only thing standing between you and $1 million life is how you think, not where you're from, not who you know, just your mindset? Welcome back to Nova Wealth, where we decode the mindset, the moves, and the magic behind financial freedom. Today, we're diving deep into the $1 million mindset, not just some fluffy ideas about positive thinking. I'm talking about the real, gritty, battle-tested mentality that built empires. If you've ever felt stuck, like success is for someone else, this video is your wake-up call. Stay locked in. Segment 1, Millionaires Don't Think Normal. Let me take you back to when I first heard about Brian Tracy. The dude wasn't born rich. He was working labor jobs, sleeping in his car. He didn't have a degree, didn't have a network, didn't even have a plan, but he had something most people never even tap into, a decision to think differently. Tracy said something that hit me hard. You become what you think about most of the time. That wasn't just a quote for his book. It was the way he clawed his way out of poverty. He started feeding his mind like it was starving. While most people binge entertainment, he binged knowledge. He lived with this insane belief that he could learn his way into wealth. And guess what? He did. Not by cutting lattes, not by budgeting himself into a smaller and smaller life, but by expanding what he believed was possible. That's the core of the $1 million mindset: expansion, not restriction. Segment 2, Pain is Fuel. Now let's flip the script and talk about David Goggins. I know, he's not your typical finance guy, but if you want to understand the raw mentality it takes to level up, Goggins is the blueprint. The guy went from an overweight pest control worker to a Navy SEAL, an ultramarathon legend. But the money part? That came later. He built his brand, wrote his book, became a speaker, and created income streams from his pain. Here's the thing. Most people run from discomfort. $1 million minds chase it. Goggins would literally wake up and do things he hated just to train his brain to get uncomfortable. He said, callous your mind. You don't do that by staying cozy. You do it by facing your demons. He ran on broken legs, trained while coughing blood, woke up when others hit snooze. And every moment he did that, he wired his brain for something most people never touch: total self-command. The day I applied that to business, everything changed. I stopped hiding from the hard conversations, the risk, the embarrassment of failing publicly. I leaned into it. You build mental muscle the same way you build physical muscle. Resistance, repetition, recovery. Goggins isn't rich just because he ran far. He became wealthy because he showed the world a mindset they couldn't ignore. Segment 3, Alex Hormozi's shift. Now let me bring in someone who's doing it right now. Alex Hormozi. If you haven't read 100 $1 offers, do it. But don't just copy his tactics. Study his mindset. Hormozi started in a saturated industry, gyms. But where others saw competition, he saw opportunity. Most gym owners were thinking like employees. Hormozi came in thinking like a systems architect. That's a mindset shift. He didn't ask, how can I make a few thousand more? He asked, how do I make this business run without me and scale to millions? That question changes everything. He built a framework, something replicable, scalable, and bulletproof. Then he taught it. Then he monetized it. Then he repeated it. What blew my mind was how obsessed he is with improvement. This man wears the same clothes, eats the same food, because his energy goes into output, not optics. That's $1 million thinking. He reinvests almost everything, not because he's frugal, but because he's focused. He doesn't need validation, he needs velocity. Hormozi treats business like a craft, not a cash grab. Every dollar he earns is proof of concept. Every system he builds is a step toward impact. Segment 4, think in decades, not days. Most people think in days. Millionaires think in decades. Jeff Bezos said it best. When Amazon stock dips, he doesn't panic because he's already living 3 years into the future. That mindset, it gives you an edge because while everyone else is reacting, you're building. You're calm. You're clear. Same with Elon Musk. Love him or hate him, the guy risked everything multiple times. Sold PayPal, dumped it into SpaceX and Tesla, slept on the factory floor. Not because he was broke, because he was committed to a vision most people couldn't see. Vision is a superpower. If you can hold it, nurture it, protect it, it will pull you forward. If you're trying to build wealth fast, ask yourself, am I thinking like a sprinter or like a marathoner? The long game is the real game. Long-term thinkers survive storms. They don't overreact. They build assets. They let compounding do the heavy lifting. You want freedom? Trade instant pleasure for long-term legacy. Segment 5, the mental diet. Let's talk about what goes into your brain. If you eat junk food all day, your body reflects that. Same goes for your mind. You cannot build $1 million mindset on a $2 mental diet. I stopped listening to random music on the way to work. I started listening to business podcasts. When I scrolled for insight, not distraction. I started treating my mental inputs like my life depended on it. Because it does. Millionaires aren't just working harder, they're thinking better. They're feeding their focus. That's what separates winners from watchers. I started journaling my thoughts, noticing my patterns, tracking what triggered doubt, what fueled fire. I built a mental dashboard. Most people just drive blind. When I learned to curate my inputs, everything changed. Friends shifted, my thoughts shifted, and my results exploded. You want different results? Start with different information. Guard your mind like your success depends on it. Segment 6, ownership is oxygen. Let me tell you about a guy named Jocko Willink. Navy SEAL, leadership coach, business owner. He talks about something that million-dollar minds live by: extreme ownership. Jocko doesn't believe in blaming circumstances. If something goes wrong in his business, his team, his life, he owns it. And that mindset, it's liberating. Because when you own everything, you can change anything. Think about your finances, your career, your relationships. Are you owning your results, or are you outsourcing them? Millionaires don't wait to be rescued. They take responsibility like their future depends on it, because it does. I remember a time when a business partner dropped the ball. A deal collapsed. My first instinct was to blame him. But then I paused and asked, what did I allow, overlook, or avoid? That shift cost me my ego, but it made me a leader. You don't get wealthy pointing fingers. You get wealthy pointing inward, then forward. Segment 7, from scarcity to service. The final piece I want to give you is this. The highest level minds don't think in scarcity. They think in service. I used to chase money, hard, until I learned this from people like Myron Golden and Ed Mylett. Money is a byproduct of value. The more people you help, the more you earn. So I shifted. I started asking, how can I help more people, deeper, faster, smarter? And the money followed. Scarcity says, there isn't enough, I have to hoard. Service says there's abundance, I can create more. Every dollar you want is in someone else's bank account, waiting for a good reason to move. Be that reason. When you stop focusing on the sale and start focusing on the solution, you unlock the kind of wealth that sticks. You become magnetic, not because you're loud, but because you're useful. Build something that serves. Obsess over the experience, and the market will reward you in return. Listen, if you made it this far, you're not average. You're hungry. You're part of that rare 1% who doesn't just scroll, you build. But knowledge without action is just noise. So here's what I want you to do. If this hit home, if this shook you up, hit that like button. Subscribe to Nova Wealth for more real talk, no fluff. And share this with one person who needs to hear it. You never know, you might change their life. This is Nova Wealth. Think big, move fast, build legacy, and I'll see you in the next one.